Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But you know how I want to start before I even start to read about the show? You know how I want to start? Do you remember when El Señor Donald Trump was out there telling everybody, you must go ahead and use the Plaquenil? That is a what is it called? The hydrochloroform, or whatever that it's called. The Plaquenil pill, that stuff that everybody uses, the one that is used by lupus patients. And, you know, this morning I read an interesting piece by a lupus person here in the Houston area. And what they had to say would bring tears to your eyes. I mean, when they talked about, as it turns out, while you can talk about using this drug keeps us alive. And by creating a false demand for a drug that doesn't even work, think about what you're doing to all of those of us who depend on that drug. Think about all of us who depend on that drug, she continued. And she said, I have to live this every single day. She has to live it every single day. And we have a president that was out there pushing this product onto the masses, because bottom line is he knew people, maybe him himself, who had stock in that company, who was responsible for getting that out there. Folks, this is the world we are currently living in. This is the world we're currently living in. Well, it turns out today what happens. All these reports, the VA did a study. And the study turns out that this particular drug, Lee Grant, how are you doing? COVID-19, well, we'll talk about that later on. Lee Grant and Michael Rudnin, we'll talk about that a little later, but we'll definitely talk about that. But anyhow, folks, as I was talking before, now it turns out that that drug, the Plaquenil that Donald Trump has been recommending that everybody take, welcome aboard Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard, does not any longer, really doesn't work. But you know what? They didn't have to tell us that. We knew that. We all knew that. Those of us who've been following all of the works, those of us who've been following all the rules, everything, we understood that those drugs really, really didn't work. Anyhow, we have a great show for you today. What's on tap for today? Title of the show, They Need Your Work. They need your work. Demand Medicare for all and a real safety net, people. The right wing and their sycophants want you back to work. They want you back to work now. It is time to bargain for Medicare for all and a robust safety net. We're going to talk about why I'm saying this and why this is the ideal time. You know, it's easy to talk in generalities. It's easy to talk in probabilities. It's easy to talk in forms that says, well, if this happens, this is going to happen. But if you don't have the material facts, if you don't feel the pain, some people do not have the appropriate empathy to understand what's going on in the world and cannot react until they see it happen. You know, one of the differences they talk about, people on the right and people on the left, is empathy level. They're the same. People, they have the same character in general. They have the same morals, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that they lack is that empathy thing. When we were talking about things like gay marriage, meaning same-sex marriage and all those aspects of things, people didn't think of it seriously until it impacted them. So when we had the Republican senators find out that their daughters, find out that their sons ultimately were gay, that is when they decided to say, oh my God, gay people, I have it in my family. And guess what? Welcome aboard, D.L. Lieberman. Welcome aboard. What happens then? It finally affects them, and they see why they needed to legalize, why they needed to make gay marriage, same-sex marriage right. They find out things about, oh my God, my daughter is married to this guy who is a minority, and oh, he goes through the same thing as any other minority. Oh, suddenly you see it. Maybe we need to make laws that are better. Maybe we need to make better policing laws, because suddenly it touches home, and your grandson now, or your grandson is no longer who used to be what you thought your grandson was going to be. And now he is at risk. And you see the issue firsthand the first time the cops stopped him and slammed him to the ground. You finally see it. And now you say to yourself, I get it now. There's some of us who can empathize, and then there's some of us who have to live it. We must not let COVID-19 go unnoticed, because everybody notices now. Who are the people in power? Who are the people that run this economy? Who are the people that enriched the few that are enriched? So, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, folks, Americans want to go back to work too, but they must not without guarantees. The large economic slowdown shows the power of the masses. They have created an oil glut. They have brought corporations to their knees. Unfortunately, I have a typo there. I said needs. Unfortunately, as the stimuli show up, those with power are monopolizing on the free cash. It is time for those who do the real work in America to bargain. And we can, if we do not allow the indoctrination of the past and the fear of the present to work. Remember that. Remember that, my brothers and my sisters. We can, if we do not allow the indoctrination of the past, the Powell Manifesto, and the fear of the present to work on us. Hey, if you've never heard of the Powell Manifesto, just go to egbertowillies.com. Let me put that in here. Go to Egberto. Actually, you know what? I'm going to find the Powell Manifesto on my page as the next thing play, and I'm going to put a link to that thing in the notes so that you guys can go take a look at it, because we have to be. Look, we have about 2 months, folks. First of all, we are going into a depression, so be prepared. It's not a bad thing. People are not going to starve like the depression past. They're going to suffer. They're not going to have the things that they had before. But we are going into a depression. I cannot see any way out of it, because COVID-19, the lies that's been told by the right to their people, are going to exacerbate that depression. It will exacerbate, and I see it. I'm not reading it complete, but I saw CSAC talk about famine, and brother CSAC. Although we are on polarized different ends of the thing, I want to talk to you about famine, because, brother, you need to be changing your modal, because famine is coming worldwide. You are absolutely right, and we need you, brother CSAC. We need you badly. But we'll talk later. Let's continue with the program. What I want to do is, the first piece I want to play for you is a piece on what Katie Tur did yesterday with the mayor of Las Vegas. I want to show you the thinking process of those people on the right. She calls herself an independent, but I want you to see the thinking process on the right. Folks, if you're just joining us as well, whether it's on YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, or Facebook, please go ahead and share this show. This is important. Es importante este programa. Ahora, si son latinos también, por favor, muévelo, que tenemos que, toda la gente tiene que escuchar eso. Everybody needs to listen to what we're going to be talking about this. And Mark Pavlovich, I'll explain what Medicare for All means as soon as I get back. and start answering those questions. If you guys have questions for anything I say, if you disagree with anything I say, lay it down there and we'll talk about it, because I want you guys to remember one important thing. This is your show. This is the show. Politics done right belong to us all. Anyway, I want you to listen to this, brothers and sisters. Listen to this.
Mayor of Las Vegas, who has recently called the shutdown insanity. Joining me now by phone, the independent mayor of Las Vegas, Carolyn Goodman. I want to ask you about a bit of pushback that you're receiving from some of the major business leaders and other leaders in your city. Wynn Resort CEO Matt Maddox he said this in an op-ed: "I commend our governor for making the difficult decision and taking early action in the fight against COVID-19. I believe his decision saved lives." And earlier today, Stephen Klubuk, the chairman and CEO of Diamond Resorts International, had this to say about your recent stance on reopening the economy. Take a listen.
Mayor Goodman is the mayor of the city of Las Vegas downtown. She has nothing to do with the Strip, and we're sick and tired of hearing this. The person in charge of the Strip is Miss Kilpatrick. She's head of the county commission, and that's what runs the Strip once and for all. Enough, Mayor. You have nothing to do with the Strip.
Mayor Goodman, you keep calling it insanity. You want it to reopen. What do you make of that pushback?
You couldn't be more correct. All I'm talking about is this is a hospitality service industry state. We have built this being very careful to make sure we're inspecting, licensing, and keeping our workers employed and giving the great community that wants to have a good time or bring their convention here safe, secure, and having a healthy environment. We wouldn't be so successful if that weren't happening. What I assume is that everybody is a carrier, that 100% of our population is asymptomatic but a carrier. And so how do we move forward? What do we do to keep our people working, to keep our parents being able to put food on the table, pay rent, and keep a roof over their heads? So many now who live paycheck to paycheck and are in the service industry supported by these hotels have no way to do that. They can't stay at home because they don't have a home. And my whole opinion is get our people back to work.
Mayor Goodman, how do you do that? If you assume everybody is an asymptomatic carrier, Vegas runs on crowds. They run on crowds in small spaces, interacting with each other, using slot machines, touching the same things, breathing the same filtered air through the casino. A lot of smokers in Vegas, making people highly susceptible to this disease. How do you keep people safe? Do you think it's possible?
Well, absolutely. I mean, consider the fact that we have grown so exponentially here over the past 40 years. It's been incredible. And we've survived the West Nile and SARS, bird flu, E. coli, swine flu, the Zika virus, and we've done it.
Those were not as contagious. They were not as contagious, and they did not spread as far as this disease has already done.
Well, we'll find out the facts afterwards. Unfortunately, we all do better in hindsight.
But those are the facts.
Really
we have a death toll.
Well,
we have a death toll that proves it. We have cases around the country that prove that. Those are the facts.
Assuming that you are correct, it's the masks, it's perhaps, but we do deal in crowds, and we have lived through all of these other highly contagious diseases, and yet we have managed to continue to have wonderful conventions come up here and be a center for now.
Mayor Goodman, there's no assuming that I'm correct. Those are the numbers that are released by the federal government. 791, more than 791,000 cases.
In the state of Nevada, we're over 3 million people, and we have 151 sadly lost individuals, most of whom
could that be due to the
preconditions.
fact that your casinos and your businesses are not open right now and people are not interacting?
No. They were, well, from the point of has it been measured, has it been their control group? When you're doing statistics, control groups are absolutely so paramount. So everything's going to be looked at, and we certainly I look to Dr. Fauci, who has said that this is a virus virus that's going to be here and could recur next year or could last all the way through into December. So do we absolutely keep everybody out of work and destroy the life of people and our children and next generation because we have a fight in our hands with the virus? Let's go forward, open up the city, open up whoever wants to open up, but do it in a very responsible, cautious way, and let the businesses open, and competition will destroy that business if, in fact, they are become evident that they have disease. They're closed down. It's that simple.
It's a modern-day survival of the fittest that you're laying out.
I love that. I love the way she ends that. The modern-day survival of the fittest. Modern-day survival of the fittest. Beforehand, I just see Mark Pavlovich says, keep up. Let's see. Please understand that they're crazy on the left, right, and I said, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Stick around, Mark Pavlovich, and let's talk about that. And I tell you what, better if you anybody who wants to call in can call 646-716-5812. You can always call 646-716-5812 if you want to get on the air with me. Anyhow, folks, so the first thing I wanted to say, talking about cognitive dissonance, modern day survival of the fittest. In other words, in order the owners of those corporations, of all the people that she wants people to come back to work for, they're upstairs, they're well taken care of, and they won't get sick. They won't get sick. They will make sure that they stay away from the virus. They will make sure that everything around them is nice, well, and sanitized. They will make sure that they're not in front of a whole lot of people. Okay? You take a look at, let's look at this piece now by El Señor Chuck Todd with these people at Tyson and how this went about. And then we'll go ahead and take it from there. This is very, 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 very important. So, folks, stick with me. But before I go any further, if you're just joining me, folks, I need your help for the live shows. Whatever platform you are on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or Periscope, please go ahead and share this on your wall, share this on your timeline, share this everywhere so that people can start getting a little bit more of this info from a different point of view that is more down to earth to the people who matters and not in the elitist model, if you will. So I ask you so kindly to do that. But I want you to listen to, we always like to think that the private sector, we are fed day after day that it is the government sector that always screws up, and that's the private sector that is so benevolent. It's the private sector who does things right. Last night I was even watching a program on fishing in the Northeast, on the Massachusetts coast, and what the government is trying to do is privatize the seas, right? But they don't quite call it privatize the seas. They say if these people own their catch, they're more likely to take care of it. That is a conventional wisdom, right? But they don't understand that owning a home is different than fishing the seas. You see, home, you are there all of the times and you live there. So when you own it, you take a bit more interest in it. But when you're fishing in the seas, the thing about somehow privatizing that and thinking you're going to take good care of it makes no sense. The people who want to be magnanimous will, and those others won't. And that's exactly what happened in New England, where the federal government has destroyed thousands of fishermen and passed it all the way on to the big corporations as usual, because they are the ones who survived. But that's another story. But what I want to say is, it is not always the case that private companies do things right. In fact, I will tell folks that the United States Post Office gets a bad rap, but which private company can move a letter for 50 cents? And anybody wants to say, oh, but the Postal Service is now bankrupt? It's a lie. It's a forced bankruptcy by forcing them to do things that no private corporation have to do, specifically stocking away a whole lot of money into their pension. So what I want to remind folks before I move on, Everything that you hear about the post office from the right wing, they are lies. The post office is a very well-run organization on the inside. Most of the negatives that occur usually occur via the private companies coming in. But anyhow, let's go ahead and play the second piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Joining me now in Dallas is my colleague Morgan Chesky, who was just in Waterloo for us yesterday when we were wondering, would they temporarily shut down this plant? And Morgan, what's interesting here, it wasn't because of the governor's request. It wasn't due to locals' request. The implication was that it was simply due to not enough workers.
Yeah, that's certainly the implied message coming from Tyson today, Chuck. And they're saying that worker absenteeism combined with COVID-19 and those community concerns basically left them no choice other than to temporarily shut down this plant, which employs 2,800 people. And I want to share with you another part of that statement that they shared today, just trying to detail how the next few steps will go, saying that the facility's 2,800 team members will be invited to come to the plant later this week for COVID-19 testing. Now, that will be a first for Tyson to do at this plant. It comes after they instructed all of their team members to be wearing masks, and they also installed about 150 temperature scanners to make sure that anyone entering that building could have their temperature read. Anyone with a fever, obviously, be sent home. But this also comes on the heels of a proclamation issued by local officials, basically pleading with Tyson and the governor to temporarily shut it down. And so it's giving them a little bit of peace of mind in that regard, simply because of the sheer number of cases we've seen over the past week. If you go back a week ago there in Waterloo and Black Hawk County, Iowa, you have about 70 cases. Now that number is sitting at around 400. 181 cases traced to that very plant. That number expected to only go up after the county sheriff told me it's really too little too late at this point. And he said, you know, the cows are already out of the barn, Chuck, because Tyson should have taken stronger measures in his mind several weeks ago when they had a chance to limit the spread. And now he says officials are really left to play catch up here, and it has a serious implication for our nation's food supply. Chuck?
Morgan, I just want to double check something, because you said you read it from the statement. Tyson is only now deciding to start testing. This is they're beginning April 22nd, after what we saw, what happened to Smithfield in Sioux Falls. Today they announced they're going to start testing their employees. That's remarkable.
That's what we're understanding. The governor is saying that they're hopeful to do that on Friday. And important to note here, Iowa responsible for 1/3 of our country's pork production. This one particular plant, a major player in that. And the concern from a standpoint there is the governor's saying that should this shut down for a long period of time, prices at the grocery store could be going up due to a shortage of product. And on the beginning of this process, Chuck, whether or not we want to talk about it, but farmers who are raising these pigs to take to the processing plants are now forced to hold on to them. And if they have to do so for an extended period of time, the unfortunate reality here is that hundreds, if not thousands, of livestock could be euthanized because they simply have nowhere else to go.
No, it is the food supply stoppage here at these plants causes all sorts of chain reaction.
I mean, man, that is so, there's so much to unpack there. Numero uno, let's realize this, first of all. Notice how screwed up it is. Tyson knows that it has people working side by side. If you have the president of a country dismissing the coronavirus as somehow not as serious as it is, the president of the country, these corporations probably assume the president of the country, because he has all the inside information, knows the truth. And he wants people to come back to work now. He also said, oh, this is just like the flu. Cognitive dissonance. Those I always try to inform my brothers and my sisters, not because somebody labels themselves the executive of a company, the president of a company, or whatever, means they have much upstairs. It doesn't mean that they're rational. It doesn't mean that they have a lot to think about. It doesn't mean that they have more than you do. In fact, most of the times the people who work for these people know quite a bit more. Bill Gates is an exception. Bill Gates is a brilliant person. In as much as he has some issues that I disagree with him on capitalism on, he's a brilliant guy. But most of these corporate executives, I mean, some of them started out as little. I worked with quite a few of these guys back in the days from the oil companies and all of that. And look, you know, all my brothers and sisters here, you guys probably have a lot much more upstairs than they do. So it's not at all surprising to me that given that their master has said, oh, this isn't very serious, that these guys go ahead and put their people in danger, which is what they did. If I were these employees, they should have a class action suit ready for all these poultry companies. And when they win that suit, have it be a employee-run corporations. When they get punitive damages from Tyson, when they get punitive damages from Smith, when they get punitive damages from all these companies who killed some of them and put their health at risk because they were not following protocol known from the CDC or anybody else knowing what's going on here. I pray that what goes forward is that all these people that go to work and get sick because of these guys following the right-wing mantra, I hope that they sue these people and say, you put us in an unsafe environment, and as such, the company is now ours, and we will now run the company as an employee cooperative, which has care now for the only two vested interests now, the only two stakeholders now, the workers and the consumer. The workers and the consumer. Well, the workers, their suppliers, and the consumers, three. Because, folks, we have to start nipping at the butt where all this evil begins. I call it evil because anybody who does what they did to these employees, they didn't care. These were a whole bunch of Latinos, man. Mostly Latinos and poor white people and black folk. Who cares? That's who these people were. So they didn't care about their well-being. They didn't care about their health. And now they're sick. Now the plant has to close down. Now, secondly, I said there's a lot to unpack here. So we know that these guys are full of cognitive dissonance. Either cognitive dissonance or just mere evil. One or the other. Or maybe both. One or the other, or maybe both. That's what we know. Secondly, what else do we unpack here? When you take a look at these factories having to close, we have to look at what it means for the rest of society, right? Our brother Michael Cisak here in the room is a farmer. And many of these guys are of the belief that those folks on the right are working for them, that somehow government is doing them wrong. When the reality is the corporate sector running the government is doing them wrong. As an example, we can take a look at, let's start with the tariffs that all these farmers had to pay, not the farmers, the tariffs that the people had to pay, Americans had to pay to bring food into the country and bring other products into the country. And in retaliation, foreign governments stopped buying American goods. And Trump goes out there and he lies to his people who, sycophants, believe it. China is paying the bill for all these tariffs that we're charging. And in the meantime, our farmers suffer. In the meantime, our farmers suffer. So all those guys that are growing these soybeans, all these guys that are growing these exotic plants that are normally gone to China, there's a big country in the south, Brazil, a huge economy just waiting in the wings. Another right-winger that took over, and somehow Trump thinks it's his friend. But now, they don't treat China the way we do. They don't treat anybody the way we do. And everybody else now goes to Brazil and some other countries out there. And our farmers, because we have a pompous buffoon as a president, our farmers are suffering. And now we have a president that does not believe in science. And whether the farmer, a simple person, knows science or not, he hopes that president that he normally says, I love you, President Trump. Protect me. Help me. I know what you're doing is good for me. Because of his impotence, because of his stupidity, because of his ignorance, because of his willful desire to profit on a killer virus, he goes out there and he makes things difficult. And he goes out there and make it like it's a simple thing. So what happens now? Our farmers out there, and you know, like I said, farmers are mostly on the right. I don't know why, but they're mostly on the right because they believe the crap that these right-wingers tell them, right? But their policies kick them in the butt. I watched another documentary on what we did with milk. I watched a documentary on what we did with fish. I watched a documentary on what we did with chickens, where the corporations have taken it all over and the farmers have just become indentured servants. The small farm disappearing to the corporate farms. And still, you tell me you believe in the way the right works as they gobble you up. Come on, farmers. Now we are, Michael, CSAC earlier said something about a famine worldwide. It's not going to be only a famine worldwide. It's going to be a famine here in the United States. As you heard at the end of the document, or the piece that Chuck Todd just spoke about, guess what's starting to happen? Oh, those pigs, who's going to feed those pigs, given that the pigs, they can't afford to feed the pig. They need to get those pigs to market, but Tyson is closed. They can't process pigs. And what happens then? As Tyson closes, less pigs on the market, the price of pig goes up in the stores. People now have to change their diets because they can't afford it. They don't have any jobs. Right? Paradigm shift, people. Paradigm shift. This is a time where workers are hurting, but this is also the time where guess who's hurting? The plutocracy, they are starting to find out that they can't really live without the masses. It's a symbiotic relationship of which they were taking it all, or which they were taking most. They were taking it from the farmers. They were taking it from the workers. They were taking it from every single person. Yes, Bruce, collective farming is a perfect thing. It's a perfect thing. It's a perfect thing. So what I'm saying here, it is time now for us all to unite. The farmers, the workers, everybody have to stop believing the crap coming from the corporatocracy and from most of your elected officials. And come November, we really have to do a number and let folks know exactly who we should be working for. Who they should be working for. You see, right now, they are scared to death. You are making them scared. Because you are scared of this virus, you won't work. And because you won't work, they are falling apart. I love that, Bruce. The grains, let's just make food. They are falling apart. They are falling apart. Mike Cisak, you don't understand collective farming. We're not talking about government-run collective farming that they had in China and Russia. That's not the collective farming that Bruce is talking about. It isn't the collective farming. You need to talk to some economists. My God, I interviewed an economist on collectivism, not only in farming, but in business and other things that works. Why do you think that having some plutocratic head, some capitalist head is going to be better than a collective? Why do you think putting most of a profit and income to a few makes it for you to work better? Then you believe in slavery. You believe if there's some master on top telling and directing everything of, people don't understand this. And it is hard for me to understand why they don't. Capitalism is not much different than slavery. It's just antiseptic slavery. Okay? It's just antiseptic slavery. You don't need a whip anymore. You don't need the whip anymore. You know why? Because capitalism is perfectly fine-tuned slavery. It has nothing to do with democracy. It isn't free enterprise. And that is a hard thing. Read the Powell Manifesto. I was looking it up and I couldn't. I need to index that to make sure that I can actually find it for people. And I'm looking it up right now. It is nothing more, people, than here is a document. I want all of you guys to read this link that I'm putting in there. Okay. It also links to the Powell memo, etc. Let's see if this is the one here. I really I really, really want you to read this. Republican assault on the American fabric started with him. That's the article. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. I want to back up a bit. I'm going to go back onto the subject of food in a minute. But it's important to understand. Mike Csack, if you think what I'm saying is BS, please give me a call, 646-716-5812. I'll be more than happy to have a civil conversation with you on this. But when I tell you that capitalism is antiseptic slavery, well-designed, let me explain it to you. Check this out. And by the way, folks, if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to go ahead and give us a super chat out there. Check out what super chat means, and it really helps us keep this program going. But check this out, folks. During the slavery days, right, you get a lot of black people or whoever is going to be the slave. You bring them over. They have no rights. They're just machines. They're just property. But you have to keep it oiled. If the machine gets sick, breaks down, you got to fix it. If the machine if it's get rinky-dinky, you've got to put clothes on it. You have to do all these things, right, to keep it functioning and working for you. I'm coming to you now, 573, to keep it functional and working for you. Capitalism is a bit different, right? You still have to come and work, right? You can choose to leave. That's the difference between capitalism and slavery. Slavery, I own the property, so the property can't leave. In capitalism, the labor isn't owned, so it can leave. But because there is sort of a consortium, you still have to leave to another capitalist system unless you own your own company, of course. That's why I believe in free enterprise. Free enterprise, you own your stuff, you do your own stuff. You are the master in free enterprise. In capitalism, a few are masters and then your own. So now, the thing about capitalism is this. I don't have to buy you clothes. Whatever I pay you, you better buy the clothes out of it. I don't have to buy you health care. Whatever I want to give you for healthcare, if I desire to, I would. But when I can no longer afford it based on the wealth that I want to attain, I just throw it away and say, I'm not giving you healthcare. And whenever you get sick, I just say, bye-bye. A sick slave has to be healed. A sick employee does not. So I want folks to understand these concepts, and then maybe we'll start looking into Medicare for all, free enterprise, and all these good things that I talk about. Okay, let's bring on 573. Come on in. You're on, sir, or ma'am.
Yes, Mike.
Hey, my brother Csack. Talk to me, sir.
I just wanted to correct all of your misinformation.
Please correct me, my brother.
It pissed
please.
me off a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Here's the deal as far as all these packing plants and everything else.
Yes.
There's very few left, really. I mean, as far as the large...
Few left of what? Mike, few left of what? I didn't understand.
The processing plants.
Yes, okay, go ahead. Got it.
Okay, basically, it's there's me, such as the cow-calf, that raises cattle on the farm on grass, okay, and calves and whatnot. And the calves grow. I sell those calves to the feedlots. The feedlots then grow them,
right,
and then they eventually have to sell them to the processing plants.
Yes.
Okay, the processing plants are the ones that actually cut your steaks and all your meats and all that kind of stuff that gets shipped out to the grocery stores,
yes.
the restaurants, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the processing plants. That's what you were talking about.
Yes.
The problem that we're running into here in the United States, we have 4 large processing plants within the United States for beef. Okay, just 4.
Right.
Okay. And there's maybe half a dozen to a dozen more that are much smaller. They're spread, across the U.S. and whatnot. Okay. But whenever you basically at one of these processing plants, it backs the entire production system
exactly
up. Okay,
I know.
All right, so So the problem here's the major problem that us cattle producers are having is that when you have very little competition as far as these processing plants, okay, they pretty much determine how much they're going to pay back to the feedlots, which means how much the feedlots are going to pay me.
Hold on a second,
Okay.
Mike. I understand all of that. And I think our audience
Okay.
understands that. And I think what our audience is trying to tell you as a conservative is that there's no reason to have just 4 major plants. The reason we have 4 major plants
There is a reason. There is a reason. And I'm
efficiency
trying
is not
to
a
beat it
reason,
through
but go
people,
ahead.
and they don't understand it.
Well, make it quickly.
The
Make the point
reason
quickly.
is
I beg.
government regulation. The cost of government regulation has put so many of these smaller businesses out of business that it's gotten to the point where there's very few left.
Let me stop you right there because
That's the
that
problem.
I know you, Mike.
That's
CSAC,
exactly what's happening.
I know you believe that. I honestly know you believe that, brother. I know you
I
believe
have
that. Hold
every
on, Mike,
single year
Mike, please
now.
listen to me now, Mike. I've listened to you. I
Listen
made
for
you
a
talk.
second. Let me tell you why. Every single year, I have to go to a new butcher for my own beef. And you know why? Because of regulation.
Mike, let me
the cost
stop
of
you.
regulation is putting these people out of
Mike,
business.
Mike,
And
here's
it
the deal,
sucks.
okay? Please. And this is what hurts the right, and this is what hurts your business. I care about your business, and I care about you, okay? I really do. And what I really get frustrated and tired with is good people like you believing the crap. And this is what I mean.
I'm living the crap. Don't
I know
tell
you
me
do, sir.
believe in it.
Sir, I know
Don't
you do.
give me that BS.
Sir.
I'm tired of this.
I know you
Seriously.
are. I know.
I'm living it. I see it. I talk to them every single day.
Mike,
One of my favorite butcher told me why he went out of business. He said between for the last 20 years, he took over his dad's business of a butcher. Okay? He couldn't stay in business anymore because the costs were 100% more because of all the damn regulations that
Mike,
they've been
I'm
piling
going to tell you
upon
something. That is
him
not true.
over and
let
over
me
again.
explain to you and why I'm telling you it's not true. Okay?
Oh,
Anything
so
that costs
you're saying that he's
Mike,
not
Mike,
telling
let me
the
finish,
truth.
please. I made you talk on
You
and
see
on.
how
and
much BS you're telling?
No, Mike. Mike, I want you to stay there and I want you to listen. The corporations, the big corporations, are the ones who run the government to make sure that the regulations are passed in fashions that do exactly what you just said. And what I'm saying is you need to learn, you need to think through different levels of abstraction, Mr. CSAC. And that's where I need you to listen to me and get smart about the issues, sir. Listen
guess
to me.
what?
Mike, stop. I gave you your whole leeway, my brother. I honestly did. So please listen to me, Mike. Please listen to me.
That big corporation point that you just said
Yes.
is absolutely true.
And so my brother, listen to me here, my brother.
And there's one point I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, sir.
Is that these people, as they gain market power and money,
Yes.
they lobby the government, and the government gives them all the different kind of regulations and stuff that they want. That makes everything cost more. For one.
Okay, Mike, I gotta let you go because I have a lot more to go over, but I want to tell you, I want to thank you. Mike, I want to thank you first of all.
And puts their competition out of business.
Mike, stop. Let me thank you first, Mike. Mike
and the government.
Mike, stop.
If the government didn't have the ability to do that,
Mike.
If the government didn't have the ability to do that, then we'd have a hell of a lot more competition.
Okay, Mike, I want to ask you a favor. When I ask you to stop, please, Mike.
And that's the problem.
Mike, stop and stay on the phone.
You're excusing the government.
Mike, stop and let me talk, please.
Yes.
Listen to me. Stay on the phone and listen to me, okay? We need you. We need the work that you're doing. We couldn't survive without the work that you're doing. But there's something else we need out of you. Ideology. We need you to get the heck out of that right-wing conservative ideology, believing it's government and not the people who are claimed to be on your side that are screwing you. Those corporations are the same ones that support the people you do. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Those corporations that are screwing you support the same people you support. So I need you to understand that. And by the way, and also it applies to neoliberal Democrats as well. I am not holding back here. It applies to neoliberal Democrats and right-wing Republicans alike. So, Mike, I appreciate you calling. I also appreciate you listening. And we're going to get together and make some changes, brother. Thank you for calling.
Well, here's the thing.
I got to let you go so quick.
To not give, if the government cannot give those preferences and those regulations, those businesses can't do anything. They have to compete with the rest
You're right,
of us.
but that's another subject. We'll talk about that another time, Mike.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And
I want you to know that. Keep in the fight, and you come in the fight with me, all right?
I appreciate if you stop with the BS, okay? All right, please.
Listen, I am not talking BS, but you just keep listening to me. Eventually, we'll get it. We'll get there. Take care, brother.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, folks. That's Mike. Look, a lot of you see Mike CSEC in our room, and you look at Mike as a bad guy and that kind of stuff. As he always hits me up, and he says what I'm talking is BS and all of that. He's wrong, okay? But I like Mike because Mike is really a very hard worker. He's a farmer. He raised cattle. He does all this stuff. He does it. So he's a part of our supply chain, and he's getting screwed. When he talks about the thing that we have to get to these folks that are getting screwed is to show them the genesis of their screwability. Because right now he looks at it as us crazy liberals that are doing it, when us crazy liberals, us crazy progressives are the ones that will pass policies, are the ones that want policies that make life better. But the reason I wanted to get Mike off of the line, Mike, is not that I don't love you. You know I love you, Mike. It's to talk about Stiglitz. I've been talking for a very long time that we are going into a depression. And the reason we're going into a depression is multifold, right? People are going to be scared to work, and those people who just can find a way to stay home are going to do so. And a lot of folks are going to do what a lot of us are doing right now. We are realizing that staying home ain't all that bad. And it isn't that it ain't all that bad. It's a lot more liberating. You're freer. Your credit card bills look a lot better. All those things are now true. The air, as we drive less, feels better. So the corporate media giving you all the advertising that is telling you spend, suddenly doesn't mean much anymore because you are starting to live a good thing, right? So therefore, CSEC, I'm not going to touch that right now, but we'll talk about that later. So that is what's happening, right? So what that means is we are going to have to adjust to a different money flow, to a different cash flow, to a different way money runs. And if that turns out to be 10, 15, 20% of the economy, that's a depression. And prices and all these things are going to fall accordingly. Supply and demand in things that are market-based still applies. There are certain things I believe don't belong in a supply-demand domain. We should remove them from that domain, but that's another topic. But anyway, there's an article today in Common Dreams, and of course, it's by Jake Johnson, one of the Common Dreams premier writers, and that article said the following: Nobel economist Joseph Stiglitz warns U.S. barreling towards second Great Depression thanks to Trump GOP failed COVID-19 response. I don't remember if you guys know this, and think about this. Bernie tried to show people why we needed Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders, and when I say Bernie Sanders, I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders the man. I'm talking about Bernie Sanders the movement. Anytime I say Bernie Sanders, I mean the movement. All right? So Bernie Sanders was constantly talking about why we need Medicare for all, why we need student loan forgiveness, why we need a Green New Deal, and you know what? COVID has done more for this movement than the Bernie movement ever could. Let me tell you all that it shows. Numero uno, it shows that we can live a life without mass pollution and finally start to see the skies. Henceforth, a Green New Deal makes sense, because how can we realize a beautiful environment again, where we can see the skies, where we can breathe again? We turn to a Green New Deal. We have an environmental type policies where the jobs are not necessarily going to fully come from oil and hydrocarbons, but suddenly come from insulating your home, building more generating plants based on waves, based on wind, based on solar, based on all the hydro, based on all these things. We see a generation that had never seen the sky in China, that had never seen the sky in LA, wake up every morning and see a beautiful sunrise. They can see, wow, that is what a Green New Deal brings you, right? Plus employment. It doesn't come without employment. It comes with a different kind of employment. So it shows us that we can move there. It also shows us that employer-based health insurance is stupid. It has always been stupid, but it was used as a bargaining chip before. But it's a bargaining chip that makes no sense. Because what happens now? In a depression, we are having 20% of the people losing their jobs. A lot of them didn't have health insurance already, and now a new set of people, including executives and otherwise, are going to realize that the cushy insurance that they had with their corporations ain't there anymore. Their insurance were tied to their beautiful, beautiful jobs. And guess what's not there anymore? Their jobs are not there anymore, and therefore their health insurance isn't there anymore. And when they attempt to get private health insurance, they're going to see what those of us who've been unemployed self-employed all our lives had to go through in the fight with insurance companies, where we didn't have a corporate middle person to take care of it. So they now see that, right? So going back to work requires us to bargain, people. They don't want us to be out too long to see what it's like, because now the bargaining power lies with us. Now we are the ones that can bargain. Now we are the ones in power. And you can say, well, then you'll just starve. No, because Mike Cisak is still going to have to grow some cows, and we're going to create an alternate economy where we're going to have to find ways to get food outside. You see, if the corporations are not providing it, people are going to find other ways. And when they find other ways, they're going to remember who screwed them. I mean, some people are always going to be slaves, right? Some people are always going to coalesce to the corporations. They're always going to give in. But a lot of us are going to see things differently then. So, this is a time when they see what's the word? It's tenuous. How tenuous one's healthcare is with employer-based insurance, who pays you, who gives you who gives you your services based on not taking too much away from their shareholders or their bonuses. Suddenly you see where you really have to look out for yourself. So that's the second thing, Medicare for all. Then they're going to see something else. You know, when you work for Exxon, or you work for Shell, or you work for Schlumberger, or you work for Microsoft, or you work for any of these companies, right? They want skilled workers. They want intelligent workers. How do you get intelligent? You go to college. But you used to have to pay for you pay for your college alone. You borrow loans for your college. All these things, right? But guess what, brothers and sisters? They want you to invest in you so that they don't have to invest in what they need from you. So they went to all these state governments and cut taxes so that they no longer paid for your education. So whereas when I came to the United States of America, In-state tuitions for Texans was $4 an hour. $4 a semester hour. Multiply that by 4 for the amount of time since then, and still it costs more to go to college because all these corporations want to pay little. All these rich people want to pay little. They got rich. They grew on your backs. They grew with your intellect. They grew with your minds. They grew with your labor. They grew with your sweat. Some of them even grew with your debts. I don't mean debts. I mean death, as in you die. And many of you, to work for them, had to go to college, take out humongous loans. A lot of those doctors that you see, they're suffering. Some of them dying as they take care of COVID-19 people. They are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And you know what the corporations who control those hospitals are doing? Cutting staff. As they need more in order to keep profits rolling for their masters, for their shareholders, for the corporate executives. They're cutting people in the middle of a pandemic because we don't have a medical system worth anything. So, you got to bargain for Medicare for all as well. Okay? I can tell you over and over and over and over and over how COVID-19 is doing much for us, much more than the Bernie Sanders movement could ever, because it put things into perspective. Healthcare, it puts into perspective. Education, it puts into perspective. The environment, it puts into perspective. If we lose this chance to make that change, it's on us. Then we really are slaves, and slaves that have nothing to do racially. It is now no longer racial slavery. It is American slavery. It is Western slavery. It is capitalist slavery. We can get out of that now, though. And there's a start. And I never believe in telling folks, and by the way, look at that article. I don't have time to go over it right now, but look at that article. I never believe in giving advice, in telling people all the problems without giving them advice. So how do we get out of this? First, you know what I'm telling you first. Make sure that other people hear my programs, because I'm not pulling any punches. And in as much as I love all my listeners, when the Mike C-Sex come on, we have a civil conversation. And I will always be endeared to Brother C-Sex because I so respect the work that he and all the farmers of America are doing. And I mean that to the depths of my heart. We need them. We need you guys. But we also need you guys thinking about us as well. And we will be thinking about you as well. We need you. But we've got to change, folks. By not going to work, we have shown who is the powerful ones in this country. All of us. All of us. All of us. I have a lot more to say, but I'm out of time, so I'm going to continue a lot of this discussion tomorrow. But what I want to do is I need to ask you guys who come to our programs to share it. First of all, share it in every avenue. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you. We need to get people following these things. I beg thee. Okay, reparations. My dear D.L. Lieberman, I 100% believe in reparations. I 100% believe all those who have been aggrieved must be taken care of. Absolutely so. I need to do a show completely on reparations. You're invited as my guest, Miss Lieberman, when we start talking about that anytime, any day, whatever. But for right now, folks, I need to ask you guys to please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Support us by buying some of our products, our cups. My book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Please get a copy. Go ahead and either get it at our site by doing it that way. Guess what? You take out the middleman. But if you prefer going to Amazon, please get it at Amazon.com as well. And don't forget, I also have the book. I once had a lot of weight problems and heart problems. Not heart problems, but high blood pressure. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Lose weight and be fit now. Yes, not politics, but it is politics in that. Hey, I do politics. I'm an activist. I'm not only behind the camera. I go out there in the field as well. So please go ahead and get any one of those books. Get them both. Buy it directly from our site, store@politicsdoneright.com, or you can go ahead and get it at Amazon. But I prefer if you get it at store.politicsdoneright. But what I need you to do, most of all, most importantly, I ask thee so kindly, please subscribe to our program. It starts, folks, at, look, $1.99. Come on now. What we really need is we need to have a steady amount of cash flow to make this continue to be viable. And only you can do it. I do this. We do this together for all of America. If you want, go to Patreon. I put it in there. Patreon.com/politics done right is where you subscribe. patreon.com/politics done right. Of course, if you want to just give a contribution or contributions via PayPal, you can either do series or one. Just go to paypal.me/politics done right. Again, that is paypal.me/politics done right. If you're on YouTube, you can give us a super chat. Super chat is a quick way of saying, hey, brother, I like what you had to say. Keep on doing the good work. We want to put a little 2 cents here in to help you get the message out. And again, you can go to our store, and I'm putting that up here now, store.politicsdoneright.com. But again, what we really need is we need hundreds of subscribers to make this viable. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politics done right. My name is Egberto Willies. I thank you so kindly for your ears. You know I love you all. You know what I preach. I preach that whenever we unite the ghettos, the barrios, and Appalachia, it's all a stereotype, I know, but when we get all those three people to stop working against each other, when we get all these people to realize that we have common interest, and that the only reason that we are apart is because the corporatocracy needs us to have to fight among each other so that we cannot look at those who are harming us. And one of my goals, my dears, is to get rid of that. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby? I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.